According to the Taoiseach Minister for Foreign Affairs, Micheál Martin, passport applications have more than trebled over the last month. Numbers have jumped, applications going from just 1,400 per day in December to almost 5,000 per day in recent weeks. I'm joined now by editor of Air and Travel magazine, Eoghan Corry. Eoghan, good morning.
Good morning, Pat.
Now, last year it was pretty awful for people, missed flights and so on because they didn't have a passport for their baby. They know the problems can arise. They know how they arise. Have they fixed them?
Very much. There's a long way to go before we're actually back on track. Travel is not really back to the levels it was even in 2019. Last year, about 85%, 83 to 85% across Europe. And looking at the slots for this summer, it's going to be not quite to 2019 levels either. It's going to be a little bit over last year. Now, everybody remembers the absolute havoc with passports because the office was effectively brought to a standstill during COVID. When it ramped up last summer, we had a lot of newborn babies, not just the 6 month or 1 year supply, but 2 or 3 years supply. And all of those first-time applicants ran into a backlog. I repeat, first-time applicants, because the online process, even when the whole passport business was under pressure, seemed to be performing very, very well. But first-time applicants, it's more complicated, and that's where we've seen the breakdown.
Yeah. Now, the online system at the moment for renewals is, according to the Taoiseach, working very well. Within 3 or 4 working days, job done. So that's good news if you're just renewing. But last year, the complication seemed to be when you've got to get a Garda to approve your passport application, and then that's got to be checked in the passport office, and maybe the Garda's on leave, on holiday, transferred to another place, etc., etc. Have they sorted out that problem?
Not really. The reality is that anyone dealing with the old way of, you phone up the Garda station, is he there? He may be, as you say, on leave, he may be promoted, he may be got moved. Sometimes there was a time lapse between the Garda signing witnessing the form, and old-fashioned communication methods were still there. Like, while everything else had ramped up, all this magnificent online renewal, uploading of photographs, all of those things had moved on. The old system where you had to make a physical phone call and have a conversation with the Garda and do all of that verification process was still in place. Now, that was incredibly slow, cumbersome, and what the solution was to set up a high-level contact group between the Garda Síochána and the Department of Foreign Affairs. They sat down and they worked out where the problems were. It was quite clear to everyone where the problems were, but solving them and talking about them had turned out to be two different things.
So there is no solution yet to that business of the Garda vetting, if you like, of the passport. Now, one of the things I've noticed on radio here on this station, we've had lots of ads from the Department of Foreign Affairs telling us, check your passport because you don't want to be stuck in the summer. So that's got to be a good thing.
Very much, because there were very few people finding their passport had expired before COVID. What happened then is maybe you travel once every 3 years, and now people put it off to 4, 5, and 6. Passports were expiring. And people were, very quickly, shortly before they were due to fly, discovering that their passport had expired, and then trying to get into an emergency process that was overloaded. That added to let's face it, the bulk of the problems are with newborn babies and all that passport, the application with the support documentation. You have to say also, Pat, the Irish passport is a very valuable document. It's the 6th most valuable passport in the world, and it is valuable because we are very, very assiduous about how we issue our passports. And when you for a newborn baby, there's all sorts of children's rights involved as well.
Okay, so the main advice from you, as is the advice from the Department of Foreign Affairs, check passports now. If you think you'll need a passport for a baby in the summer, start working on it now, lest there are those delays which have not yet been resolved in a technical way. Finally, Eoghan, I should ask you this story about a couple of parents who abandoned their child at the check-in in Israel because they were asked to pay for a seat for the baby. Ryanair have said they never saw the like of it ever in their service. What do you make of that?
Okay, one last point on passport. You don't have to wait for the PPS number for the baby as soon as the baby's born. I don't know what to make of this Tel Aviv story. It looks like it's been put out there by the airport staff. When a child goes missing in any situation, it's because both one parent thinks the other parent is looking after it. But what I've seen, and Tel Aviv, by the way, is not an ordinary airport. If you leave a sweet wrapper in Tel Aviv, they descend on you because it's one of the most security conscious airports you'll find in the world. So what seems to have happened here, and I'd be running down to Paddy Power to put money on this as soon as the interview is over, is that there was a standoff. The baby they didn't buy a seat for the baby. That's normal. Up to 2 years of age, babies travel free. But there seems to have been a standoff with the staff. And out of that, the staff say the baby was left behind. I have no idea what happened, but what probably had was we had a confrontation which led to a little bit of grandstanding, and the notion of leaving a baby behind in an airport is something that Ryanair have never heard of, I've never heard of, and I presume that this was probably something that was staged rather than parents wandering off without their baby.
Eoghan Corry, editor of Air and Travel magazine, thank you very much for joining us.